They said, how much would it take? How much for your faith? How much for your worship? How much for your praise? They said everybody's changing. They said don't be so serious. They said you could go farther if you just compromise a little bit. But Jesus knows the question before I say it out loud. He knows what's in my heart when nobody's around. So let me answer clearly before the pressure comes. My worship is not for sale. My worship is not for sale. You can keep the lights, you can keep the fame, you can keep the platform, you can keep my name. My worship is not for sale. My worship is not for sale. I belong to Jesus, and Jesus is my King. Not for money, not for clout, not for followers, not for crowds, not for trends, not for fame, not for everybody knowing my name, not for comfort, not for praise, not for getting my own way. My worship is not for sale. My worship is not for sale. What if nobody likes it? Would you still obey? What if nobody sees you? Would you still pray? What if they don't applaud you? What if they walk away? What if doing what is right costs you something today? Would you still call him Lord if he asked you to wait? Would you still trust his word if you couldn't see the way? Would you still follow Jesus if the crowd said no? Would you still choose the kingdom if nobody chose to go? Yes, because I didn't find a savior just to sell him for a trend. I didn't find a kingdom just to trade it for a friend. I didn't find my identity just to lose it for approval. I didn't find the truth just to bend it for a move. My worship is not for sale. My worship is not for sale. You can keep the lights, you can keep the fame, you can keep the platform, you can keep my name. My worship is not for sale. My worship is not for sale. I belong to Jesus, but Jesus is my King. They can question my motives, they can question my praise, they can question my choices, they can question my ways, but they cannot purchase what Jesus bought with blood. My life belongs to Jesus. My worship belongs to God. You can't buy my conviction. You can't lease my faith. You can't rent my allegiance. You can't negotiate my praise. You can't trend my devotion. You can't cancel my king. You can't silence my worship. You can't make me bow. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're asking. Is Jesus really worth it? Yes. Will God really come What if you lose something? Jesus is still enough. What if they reject you? Jesus still receives me. What if you never get famous? I was never made for fame. I was made for his kingdom. What if I gain the whole world but lose the reason I live? What if I get everything but have no worship left to give? What if everybody knows me but I don't know his voice? What if I win their approval but lose my kingdom choice? No, I would rather have Jesus than everything they sell. I would rather have the kingdom than a kingdom made by men. I would rather have his presence than a room full of applause. I would rather lose their approval than lose sight of who he is. My worship is not for sale. My worship is not for sale. You can keep the lights, you can keep the fame, you can keep the platform, you can keep my name. My worship is not for sale. My worship is not for sale. I belong to Jesus, and Jesus is my King. Seek first the kingdom and his righteousness. Seek first the kingdom and his righteousness. Before the money, kingdom. Before the followers, kingdom. Before the spotlight, kingdom. Before the relationship, kingdom. Before the career, kingdom. Before the dream, kingdom. Before the applause, kingdom. Jesus first. Jesus first. What would you trade it for? Nothing. What would you trade his truth for? Nothing. What would you trade your calling for? Nothing. What would you trade your worship for? Nothing. What would you trade the king